That is the same model as this one. This one has a tick, this one doesn't. So this one must be the faulty one. Alright, let's repair it. Guys, welcome back to the Off-Grid Garage here in sunny, it is pretty sunny today. Very, very sunny today in hot Australia. It is late autumn here and we still have around 28-29 degrees. So better go back into the shaded Off-Grid Garage here. So guys, in today's video we want to repair this this faulty BMS here, which we have flashed with a wrong firmware in one of the last videos, you know. Qikong has sent me a couple of firmware for the B series of these BMSs here, and one of these files was not quite compatible with this specific BMS here, because this is a version 17 hardware, and they sent me a file for a version 19 of this BMS here. I'm not even sure if there is a version 19 existent of these BMSs here, but as soon as I connect it, it starts beeping. For everyone who doesn't know what 28 degrees are, that is 60 amps outside. Yeah, it is a long tradition here on the channel to measure the temperature in amps. Alright, connected B negative to the battery, have the display and button plugged in, because for some reason this BMS doesn't come with a power button. And we plug in the balance cables to the battery. There we go. And I turn it on now. Yeah, now it beeps. It just beeps. It doesn't stop beeping anymore. And you can't turn it off with a power button anymore. See, I'm holding. It is not turning off. You can only disconnect it from the battery and then it stops. And this exactly happened when we flashed it with the firmware version 1904, which is not for this BMS, because this is a version 17 BMS, right? So, and now they have sent me the 1706 for the same BMS. So let's try this one. There's also a new JK-BMS monitor software 30328. Yeah, that fixes the problem that we weren't able to flash any BMSs with this software. So we had to revert back to an older version, the 270 or something. And this actually flashed the PB series, the inverter BMS, as well as the B series BMS here. But the newer version, 302, didn't. I mean, wouldn't you test such an important feature of a software product before you release it? Well, anyway, we now have the 30328. This is all linked down under the video. So I have now additionally connected the communication board to the B series BMS here, plugged in the LAN cable which goes to the RS485 USB adapter into the computer, and then we start the software, go to COM5 in my case, connect, and probably nothing happens because the BMS is bricked and is also not turned on at the moment. So we just go to disconnect here, we go to the three dots up here, go to upload fireware, which is still the fireware. Okay, we select the correct firmware, which is not this one, the 1706. So now obviously we have to trust this new firmware, because the software here on the computer cannot communicate with the BMS anymore because it's bricked, and verify that this is the correct firmware. So that's why we see the warning up here, the device identifier is not same to connected device. There's no communication at the moment. So we click on force update. It will ask us for the update code again. So we go back to Miro's website here, which I link all down below. This is the force update code we have here. It is still valid for another 23 minutes. We just click on this button here to copy it. We go back into the JK-BMS monitor software, paste it in here, click on OK, sending failure. Nice. Okay, maybe I have to turn on the BMS, but it will beep. It is on now, just if you aren't aware. Sending failure. It is still not working. Okay. Whoa. Alright, I don't know what's going on here. It is not talking to this BMS anymore. So this whole recovery of this BMS failed. Great, so as we can see, this did not work, yeah? There's also another issue. If you remember how to recover your bricked inverter BMS, yeah? It is basically the same procedure as I've just shown you here. So you enter the force update code into the JKBMS monitor software, and afterwards it shows the progress bar sitting on 0% and not progressing. And what you have to do on the inverter BMS is press and hold the power button, as well as push the reset button on the communication board of the inverter BMS once. And then you can see the progress bar starting from 0 to 100%. And you hold down the power button until you reach the 100%. We've done this many times here on the channel to downgrade the BMS, to repair bricked BMSs. This all works fine with the inverter BMS. But here, there is actually another problem. Well, we don't have a reset button for this BMS, yeah? There's no reset button here on this communication board, nothing. There's also no reset button here on the BMS anywhere, at least not that I'm aware of. So obviously this method here does not work with the B-series BMS. I have to GKONG what to do in this case. I mean, why otherwise would they send me this repaired firmware, you know, if we cannot recover this BMS here? Okay, to get at least some success here in this video today, we want to connect the second BMS they have sent me and update the firmware to 1706 or whatever it is now. And this one goes back in the box until we can... Well, I really hope we can repair this BMS, yeah? It would be a shame if it is completely destroyed now just because of flashing a wrong firmware. Well, such a procedure doesn't harm the inverter BMS. So I've just turned on this BMS again. I wanted to show you that the actual LED of the BMS is flashing red. So it is waiting for a Bluetooth signal, and it also shows up in the overview list of all BMSs the software can reach via Bluetooth. But when I connect to it, it actually brings up an error message and it doesn't really connect with Bluetooth. But the LED flashing means the BMS is still alive and awaiting something. And it is exactly the same behavior as we have seen in the inverter BMS when it is faulty, when it is bricked, and doesn't respond to RS485 or CAN communication anymore. And we have to recover it as we have just done it here. So there is hope that there is just a different procedure for the B-series BMS here to recover it, but we will see. Alright, so I've now connected the second BMS, which is actually working, and I've connected via Bluetooth to it. And strangely enough, it already shows me the software version 1706, yeah? So hardware version is 17A, software version is 1706. And the 1706 is exactly the software they have sent me already. So I'm not sure what's going on here. So I think we've got a working solution now. Well, at least that's what GKONG thinks. So firstly, we have to disconnect the host. So that means that we don't connect the PC software to the BMS. Well, in my case, it wouldn't connect anyway, but you don't click on the connect button in the bottom right-hand corner. So select force update from PC software, needs authorization code. Disconnect the B connection line of the BMS to cut off the power to the BMS. Yeah, and this is instead of pressing the reset button, basically. So I have already isolated the positive line. This is basically pin number 8. Yeah, B positive. It says here on the BMS as well. And this is what I have isolated here. And we can just connect this one here with these crocodile clamps to the B positive of the battery. And then it says reconnect the B cable of the BMS to put the BMS in the standby state. Press the activation button without releasing it. If it fails, repeat the step 7. Good luck. Yeah, amazing. So at this stage, I'm not 100% sure if we need to turn on the BMS and then disconnect the positive. We will just give it a try and see what works. But I think we have to turn it on to activate the communication board, otherwise the green light is not on, right? So there might be some excessive beeping now. I'll just turn down the volume for you and put everything, I think, and I would say here on the screen as text. Stupid. Okay. All right, I'm turning on the BMS now. Can you hear it? I can't hear it. Okay, green light is on the communication board. Force update 1706 open. Force update I copied the code, but then it says sending failure, see? Okay, let's try again. And now I disconnect the B positive. Oh, that is so much better. Okay, now it is in standby mode. Oh, okay, hang on. Disconnect the B positive line and cut off the power to the BMS. Reconnect it. Okay, I reconnect it. And I'm not turning it on anymore. But there's no light on the communication board, so I'm not sure. Nah, this doesn't work either. Okay, back to GKONG. Okay, they want me to try again with the older computer software 270. So we just try again. Not connected, 3 dots, upload fireware, 1706, open, force update, enter the code. Okay, I'll turn on the BMS again. Sending failure again. Force update, enter the code, disconnect, reconnect. Okay, nah, same problem with the older software as well. Guys, it works again. We fixed it. And we had to use a USB to TTL adapter. Yeah, and then connect RX and TX and ground to the GPS port of the BMS. Here you can see the P4 is the GPS port of this BMS and pin 1 is on the right hand side. So if you go to P4, you can see pin 1 is ground, pin 2 is RX and pin 3 is TX. And of course, with all the communication, you have to swap RX and TX of your sending and receiving device. You know, one is sending and the other one is receiving. And this worked. Well, there's actually more to it. And we also had to use this UART assist program here, which then connects via serial port to the GPS port of the BMS. And GKONG has sent me a binary file, which I have then sent to the BMS. And this has then fixed it. It is that easy. So obviously, once of these B series BMSs is pricked because you flashed the wrong firmware on purpose, even you knew better, there's no way to retrieve it without the help of GKONG and sending you this binary file, this bootloader, or what is it called. And obviously this was exactly what was wrong on the BMS, and now it is just working again. And I checked on the app and it has already the 1706 firmware flashed onto it. So there was no need to upgrade this BMS anyway to a new firmware because it was already on the firmware they have sent me. So anyway, this method here with the USB to TTL only works with BMS's version 15 or newer, yeah, 15, 16, 17, up to 19 right now. You can also use this USB to TTL adapter and a mini GST cable, which then connects to the BMS here. And then you make the right connections, RX, TX mixed ground connection, and don't connect the positive, yeah, only ground, RX, TX. I'll link the adapter and the cable down under the video, of course. And I was asking GKONG actually if we can do the same method here on a version 11 BMS, because as you may remember, my version 11 BMS here in the bottom battery shelf, it is still not resetting to 100% or to 0%. So there is a bug in the software, and unfortunately these ones don't have an EEPROM inside, so they cannot be flashed to a new firmware, no upgrade possible. And I don't know why this software wasn't tested before it went actually into these BMSs and then got sold to the world. Because clearly this reset to 100% and 0% is not working in these BMSs. And I've read all your comments and a lot of people have the same issue with these BMSs. So obviously there's a bug in the software which they haven't tested for whatever reason. And yeah, this is now gone basically. So what I would like to know now is, can we still do a force update on these BMSs? And how does it work without a reset button? Is the method they have sent me actually working? Let's find out. Okay, so I have now plugged in the RS485 to USB adapter again to the computer, and I've also installed the communication board again to the B series BMS. And let's see if it connects here and gets data. Everything works real time. There we go. Okay, let's disconnect again because we pretend the BMS is still pricked and want to do a force update. Update firmware, go to force update, paste the code from Miro's website, go to OK, sending failure. It still doesn't work. Okay, let me try the older software again. Okay, force update, paste, okay. Now, it is the same. And I think, and this is even with the light turned on here on the communication board, yeah? So communication should actually work as we have seen, but it doesn't do the force updating at all. So let's see what happens if I disconnect the positive of the BMS. Obviously it turns off, but also the communication board turns off, yeah? And then we put it back on and it goes in standby apparently, because everything is still connected, but it's not turned on. So let's try to do a force update again. Paste the code, okay. Now, sending failure. See, obviously this method doesn't work like in the JK inverter BMS. The B series is different. If it is pricked, you have to contact GKONG and they need to send you a bin file and do all this magic stuff with this UART assistant program. There was a couple of parameters we had actually to change to make it work, but they sent me screenshots what to set, and after a few attempts it actually accepted the file, uploaded the file to the BMS, and then it confirmed with a double beep that everything was fine, and since then it's just working. So obviously not as easy as in the inverter BMS, but still possible. Okay, my friends, I think we still learned a lot today. So we know now that it is possible to recover these BMSs, but you need to have these USB to TTL adapter connected to the GPS port and then wait for the bin file being sent by GKONG. And they give you all the instructions for that, but it is not as straightforward as in the inverter BMS. Okay, at least the BMS is rescued and working again now, because this is one of the 300 amp BMSs we want to test in a future video. People wanted to see if it actually can do 300 amps and what happens to the BMS when it disconnects at 300 amps. And I'm still trying to figure out how to set this all up in a safe way. Because I need to have the inverter power as well as the load connected to these inverters to pull actually 300 amps from a 12 volt battery. It's only 3.6 kilowatt, but still 300 amps on a 12 volt base. It is still a lot of current, so I need to think about how to connect the battery cells with double or triple bus bars and things like this. So yeah, and then have one of these BMSs here actually turn off at 300 amps and see how the MOSFETs behave, how everything explodes, how there is a fire being started inside my garage, things like this, you know. People are always interested in this stuff and it brings a lot of clicks here on YouTube, so I'm doing it. No, guys, I'm kidding. I really need to figure out if this is actually possible and how can I do it in a safe manner. So I'm not promising that we will do this test, but I'll think about it and see what I can find out. Okay guys, I think so far this video from today, it was a bit of a mush situation here with this stuff, more of a workshop type video here, because I didn't know how to do it and the instructions were not quite clear, but then eventually we figured it out and everything is fine again. So, and I would say thank you very much for 108,529 subscribers. Thank you so much and welcome to everyone new here to the channel. You've got lots to catch up. Start at video 1 and work your way up until you are at the most recent video. And of course, thank you very much for everyone who is donating to the channel here, keeping this bad fridge filled with nice ice cold solar panel alignment tools. Thank you very much for that. Because as you have seen today, we are still having here pure sunshine and up to 28, 29 degrees or 65 amps outside. And we are getting very close to winter here down in Australia. So thank you very much to all the donors and supporters and everyone else who's leaving nice comments, liking and sharing these videos, because clearly all your support makes these videos possible here. Thank you very, very much. And until the next video, guys, where I have very, very new news for you about a new... I'm not spoiling it, you will see. Until then, guys, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye-bye.